Hello my friends, it's the Game Boy Geek here, and today we find ourselves in our great Aunt Victoria's garden at her country manor, gazing at the lights from fairies. You'll be discovering these fairies, gaining trust of fairy folk, and building your garden flowers, paths, and fairy homes. Fairies and Magical Creatures is a drafting, deck building, and area control game for the whole family. It's for 2 to 4 players, for ages 10 and up, takes 45 to 60 minutes to play, and is published by Forbidden Games. Now it's on Kickstarter right now, so I'm going to show you how the game works, and I'll see you on the other side. The objects of the games have the most points in the end, and players take turns in clockwise order. On your turn, you're going to take one of your pawns, and you're going to select one of these 5 actions, and you're going to place your pawn here. Like, for example, we're going to build a garden, which is going to allow us to select and place a garden tile. Now, we're going to select one of these and place it on our own garden board. So maybe we selected this one. Now I want you to notice that these are double-sided. You have a plant side and you have a path side. And this is important for scoring. If you place a path, it has to start somewhere on the edge of your garden, and then all subsequent paths have to continue an unbroken path around. So why are we doing this? Well, you're going to be building on this, and as you cover certain things, you'll get certain bonuses. Like here, if I went like this, I'll cover this. This allows me to draw a card, and again, the first path has to be on the outside. We'll tell you why you'll be doing this in just a moment. Now, each player starts with a 4-card starting deck in a draw pile, and that allowed me to draw a card. So I'll draw the top one. This would be secretly in my hand, but I'm just going to place it down here so you can see it. These cards do all sorts of things. Most of them have abilities, but some of them just straight get you points. Like this would just get me a victory point for the frog. Now, even though this would be in my hand, every time you take an action on your turn, before or after you take that action, you can play a card from my hand. So I got this card, drawing it by placing that garden. It's in my hand. After I've played my action, which is placing that garden tile, I could play it and get this. Now you actually use your garden as a score. You see it has 1 through 10 here. I got 1 point. I'll put it here because I have 1 point. And once I get past 10, then you start moving it down the next row because this is 10 or 20, 30, things like that. So you can keep track of your score on your garden board as well. Now here's an interesting point of the game. Even though I selected this and I did it, every other player in clockwise order is also going to be able to do it. Now there's enough garden tiles out here for all the players. This is a 4-player game. So all the other players in turn order will draft these. There'll be none left. Then we will fill this up with 4 new ones from a bag. So the new ones might look like this. Then it would be the next player's turn to your right, counterclockwise. So the turn order goes counterclockwise, but as players take actions, everybody in a clockwise manner gets to also take that action. Now let's get back to this. Why were we doing this? Why are we placing a path? Because endgame scoring has a lot to do with your garden. Now let's say we got another a piece of garden that we could put out there and we place it on our board. Now, when you place a garden, it can really go anywhere. You can't hang off the edge and you can't stack, but it can kind of be placed anywhere where, remember, the paths have to start on the outside and then you have to have an unbroken path and continue it on. These can be placed anywhere, but you might want to be placing them near here. First of all, if I place it here, I'm going to get to do a couple of things. Number 1, I'm going to get 2 points. Number here, I'm going to be able to place a kinship token, which are these. We'll talk about that in a moment. But the main reason why I'm doing this is because at the end of the game, for every garden tile that you have next to a path, even if just one of these edges is touching one edge of a path like this, it's going to be worth the amount of points of that tile. So in this case, there's 4 little squares of garden here, and at least one of them is touching this. This is going to be worth 4 points at the end of the game. But if you remember, we just placed this, which got us 2 points, so we go like this, and we get to place a kinship token, which is one of these. Now when you place a kinship token, you're going to place it in one of the fairy folk areas of the beasts, nature, trolls, earth, and so on and so forth. And when you place it, you're going to select one and place it there. This is going to be important for end game scoring as well. So let's say it looked like this when I'm placing that kinship token, and I go like this. Now again, this is going to be huge for end game scoring, because if the game had ended and we were doing final scoring, we'd look at this and we'd see who's in first place. Red has 4 kinship tokens more than everybody. They get up 1 point for every single kinship token that's here, regardless of who placed it. There's 9 total kinship tokens between these 3 players. Red, because they have the most, is going to get 9 points. Second place gets however many they placed. Green would get 3 points. So red 9, green 3. So you can see area control is a big part of the end game scoring. Now, it's not just about placing your kinship tokens in here to get the big area control points at the end, which is big, but there's another thing you can do here, and another different strategy is if you're the first person to get 10 kinship tokens in an area, you're going to claim that fairy home tile from that folks area. So this is here we placed our 10th, we would be able to take this and place it on our garden. And we get to place this somewhere on our board that's not occupied already. Let's say we go something like this. Now this is important because remember, this was gonna get 4 points at the end of the game because at least one edge was up against this, and this is 4 large. This now allows it to get double the amount of points. This is now gonna be with 8 points at the end of the game. So now we're gonna be trying to build a lot of little garden tiles off of this to try to score double points for those. So that's another big part of the end game scoring as well. So remember, on a player's turn, they're selecting an action. After they take that action, they can play a card that's already in their hand, and then everybody else in clockwise order also gets to take this action. So let's say it's another player's turn, and they go here, gain trust. You get to place a kinship token. So green's gonna place one, then everyone else will place one in one of the areas, and that green player could play a card before or after, and then it's the next player's turn to the right of them. Now we've already talked about building the garden, gaining trust. What about helping hand? This allows you to play a card from your hand. Now, since you always can play a card before or after your action, regardless of which one you take, the person that takes the helping hand actually gets to play 2 cards where everyone else will play 1. So let's say we were gonna play cards, and because we selected it, we're gonna get to play 2 of them in this action. And let's say we don't even have a draw pile left. Everything else is in our hands. So let's say we play this one like this. It says place 1 kinship in 2 different areas. So we would have been able to place 1 of these in 2 different areas. And then because I selected the action, I could play another card. And maybe I play this one, which says discard all cards from your hand into the discard pile. And you would do this because, maybe I would discard this, because once you have no cards in your draw pile, you'll end up shuffling your cards up and creating a new draw pile, cycling cards that you really want the abilities on faster. Now, calling fairies allows you to draw a card from your draw pile. So that's how you actually get cards from your draw pile into your hand. But remember, you're doing this anytime anyone takes this action. So you'll start to draw cards throughout the game, maybe because you selected this action, but maybe because other players did as well. The last action to talk about is befriending a fairy. This allows you to draft a new fairy card. Now, there'll be an amount of these cards equal to the number of players plus 1. And each player, getting clockwise order from the one who took the action, is going to get to draft these. And these do different things. And a lot of times they're tied to the different areas of the folk that's on the board there. And they do different things, like score a point per nature card in your draw pile, or place a kinship token in any area, or 2 in the earth area. Score a point for every 2 of your kinship tokens in the troll area. Or place a kinship token in any area and remove 1 from the same area. Or place a kinship token in any area and remove 1 opponent's token from the beast area. So once everyone takes one of these, there'll be 1 left. That one goes to the bottom of the pile, and then this gets refreshed. Now, different cards do different things. Here's some more, like draw up to 7 cards in your hand and discard 1. Double your board benefits from placing a tile in your garden. Interesting. Score a point per plant tile in your garden. Score a point for every 2 of your kinship tokens in the beast area. Score a point per Fae card in your in your draw pile. So any type that has this icon. So all different things there. Now, turns of like this will continue until one of a few different ways that the game can end. One of them is if all the cards have been taken from the deck and there's not enough to create a new card offer. Or if all 5 of the fairy homes have been taken and placed in people's gardens. Or there's not enough garden tiles to create a whole new display after being taken. Or somebody runs out of kinship tokens. Then you're going to go to that final scoring. And again, the player that has the most kinship tokens will get a point for all of them here, regardless of colors. Second place will get a point for each of their own on there. And each of your garden tiles are going to score a point equal to how big that is if at least one side is touching the path. So this one would be 4 points. This one would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 points. And remember, all the ones that score that are touching one of the fairy homes double. So this one here was 8. This one here is also 8. And this one here is going to be 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because it's here, but it's also touching there. So that would be 10 as well. This one would be 4, because it's 4 big, and at least one side's touching that. And you add all those up to the points you had. Again, you're also keeping score on your board with here. And whoever has the most points at the end is the winner. Well, there you have fairies and magical creatures. And as I showed in the overview, you'll be using card drafting, deck building, and area control in your enchanting garden. Now, if you'd like to see the most up-to-date art and components and all the different pledge levels available, you can click the link below me in the description of this video. Now, it's going to take you directly to the Kickstarter project page, and I'm sure that Forbidden Games would love your support.